Hi everyone, and welcome to my book reading of Ernie Gonzalez, The Determined Dreamer. We're on chapter 6 called Ernie Sees Daylight. So I hope you're well. My name is Beth Shepherd. I'm the author of these books, Ernie Gonzalez, The Determined Dreamer and Escape from Paradise. 2 books in the Ernie Gonzalez series, and as I have been sneakily telling you, but don't tell anyone, I've been working on a book, the 3rd book in the series, called The Revenge of the Thug Slugs. So look out for that one soon. So I'm still writing it at the moment. So today we're picking up chapter 6. I have to tell you, one of my favorite chapters is chapter 6. So when I visit schools, which I love visiting schools, I always read this chapter because it's so much fun. It's where Ernie meets Captain Pablo. And if you look behind me, you will see Captain Pablo on the wall over there, drawn by the amazing illustrator of my book. So let me just quickly recap what has been happening so far in this story. So if you've been following, which I know some of you have, so I need to say a hi to Hessely, because she has been watching and she's done some work for me. So I'm going to share that with you later on today. So hi, Hessely. Hope you're doing well. And hi to everyone else who's watching, because I know there's a few of you, and some of you, especially Maya, who's watching a bit later on today. So Ernie starts off splat into a rotten, soggy avocado, and he's given up on his dreams. If you remember, his dream was to find the olive garden. So that's a special place where he thinks him and his family can have a much better life with fresh vegetables and never going to be stepped on. I don't know if you've ever stepped on a snail in the rain. It's not very nice. It's very crunchy and then squidgy. So if you're a snail, that's the last thing that you want to be doing. So Ernie wants to find a better place to live. So he goes off in search of his dreams, but he finds himself in the fridge in someone's kitchen, and he doesn't understand what he's doing there. And then he's taken out of the fridge and he's put on a plant pot by the side of the window. If you have a look, if you remember, that was the chapter we looked at last week. So Ernie is baffled and he is fed up, because whilst he's got so many nice things that he likes, and inside his plant pot, he's got bedrooms and studies and bunk beds. Strangely, there's a lot of beds inside his plant pot, which he thinks is a bit of a mystery. There's a bit of a clue as to what he's doing there. As much as he's got really nice things, he just knows it's not where he wants to be. It's not the olive garden, and he doesn't want to settle, but he cannot figure out how to escape this ready-made snail home on the windowsill in someone's kitchen. So in this chapter, we find out a little bit more about why Ernie is there, and Ernie meets Captain Pablo. Are we ready? Ernie sees daylight. Ernie's tentacles hung down to the floor. His situation seemed hopeless, and the thought of escaping was slipping away. It wasn't long before he heard the sound of footsteps coming into the kitchen again. His heart was so full of gloom that he didn't even bother to hide. He just continued to stare out of the window, feeling sorry for himself. Poor Ernie. Suddenly, the fridge door was opened. Ernie didn't have time to stick to the windowsill. He was swept high in the air and came plummeting down, landing on the end of a leaf on his plant. Let's just have a look at Ernie's leaf. There we go. Ernie's just hanging precariously on the end of the leaf. If you're not sure of that word, have a look later on what it means. As he hung on his leaf, Ernie's head drooped in despair. "What do these people want from me?" he mumbled as he stared at the floor far below him. Just then, he heard a buzzing coming from behind him. It was getting louder and louder. "Gotta get out of here! Gotta get out of here!" came a panicky voice. Ernie turned just in time to see a fly buzzing straight towards him. "Incoming fly! Make way!" He ducked, but it was too late. The fly landed slap bang in his face. After an awkward pause, it flew off towards the window, leaving Ernie stunned and dangling precariously on the very tip of the leaf, hanging by just one tentacle. Let's have another look at that picture. There we can see Ernie hanging by just one tentacle. What are you doing, blocking my flight path? The fly grumbled as he rearranged his crumpled wings. Ernie watched in amazement as the fly prepared to launch himself through the window. What are you doing? Shouted Ernie, clinging to the leaf for dear life. Gotta get out of here, buzzed the fly again. Thud, ouch, thud, ouch, thud, ouch. Ernie watched as he flew into the glass again and again in an attempt to escape. That has got to hurt, Ernie mumbled to himself. He must be crazy. It is you who is crazy, my slimy amigo, buzzed the fly. Don't you know that you can't escape? Ernie replied, beginning to slip off the leaf. The fly stopped and looked at him. Oh, it is you slimy slug. You're the one stealing all the food. Ernie looked at him puzzled. I am not a slug, he said crossly, and I have no idea what you are talking about. As Ernie struggled to regain his grip, the fly flew over and buzzed around his tentacles. You're nothing but a pampered little pet. Ernie forgot about his immediate danger of falling off the leaf and tried with all his might to swat the fly with his other tentacle. Oh, you are clever, but I am fast and I am free. Two things you are not, he buzzed as he flew to the window and continued to fly into the glass. But now you are pet, you can be my new amigo, although you're a little squishy. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. I am on important fly mission. I have people to see and places to be. Ooh, that rhymes. I could be famous. The fly started humming to himself as he continued to fly into the glass. Do you know the way to San Jose? Do, 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 he sang. Ernie suddenly spotted that the top of the window was open. Up there! The window was open, he yelled, relieved to have found a way to get rid of him. The fly stopped and looked up. Oh, yeah, thanks, he said, as he buzzed his way along the glass up to the open window, still humming his strange song. Adios, my slimy little pet slug, he said, laughing as he buzzed out of the window. I am not a slug, shouted Ernie as loudly as he could. Enviously, he watched as the fly enjoyed his new freedom as he dived and twisted with delight in the clear blue sky. There was a moment's silence as he tried to make sense of it. Then suddenly he figured it out. I am a pet. His boggly eyes nearly popped off of his head. And with that, he fell right off the leaf and landed splosh on the mud in his plant pot. At first, he couldn't believe it. And he certainly didn't want to believe it. But the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He sat in shock for a moment, hoping he was wrong. But whichever way he looked at it, the fly seemed to be right. He looked around at his perfect home, and suddenly it all seemed so obvious. That's it, he cried. That's why I'm here. I have been kidnapped and made into a pet snail. Ernie was now in shock. He was rooted to the spot and covered in mud. His tentacles hung so low that they dragged in the sludge. The very idea was unimaginable. He thought back to his family and could almost hear his brothers laughing at him saying, "We told you so, and we always knew you were a failure," or his mama saying, "That's what you get for being a dreamer." Why couldn't you have been happy with a normal snail life like everybody else? You're always trying to prove stuff, Ernie. Now look where it's got you. Ah, enough, he shouted with all of his strength. He knew what it meant to be a pet. He had heard of stories of how animals vanished and were never seen again. Soon he began to wish that he didn't know the truth. Wearily, he slumped against the plant pot and sighed. Let's just have a look at Ernie's, with his tentacles hanging low. There we go. Ernie liked being free, and he knew that snails were meant to be free. He sat in silence, feeling defeated and alone. This is not good, he mumbled. Then, from somewhere, he heard a voice. You can do this, Ernie. Don't give up. Papa? He said, feeling confused and looking around him. But there was no one there. Then a wonderful feeling of peace began to stir in his heart, and courage bubbled up inside him. For some reason that he didn't quite understand, he no longer felt alone. It was as though he was being encouraged to believe in his dreams despite his situation. Instantly, he felt better. With a newfound strength, he got up and shouted, "No, I will not become a pet. I refuse to, and I believe I stand for snails everywhere. Snails do not make good pets. And neither do they make for good food in posh restaurants," he added. Something had changed in Ernie's heart. It was as if knowing the truth about his situation had set him free. And now he was determined to escape. "I will reach the olive garden, I know it, and nothing will get in my way." Just at that moment, one of his owners walked into the kitchen carrying a huge jar of Spanish olives, Ernie's favourite. And she dropped the largest olive Ernie had ever seen into his bowl. Suddenly, there was a tapping at the window. Ernie looked around and saw the fly buzzing outside the window and staring at the olive, his eyes large with delight. I think the fly likes olives too. Ernie looked back at the olive and stared in amazement. His mouth began to water and his tentacles danced on his head. "Let me in, amigo! I can't resist olives," pleaded the fly. Ernie just ignored him. To him, there was nothing tastier in the whole world than a scrumptious, juicy, mouth-wateringly good green olive. Okay, so we pick up next session on Thursday and we find out what is going to happen to Ernie now. He's just decided that he is going to let nothing get in his way for his dreams when suddenly there he is faced with the biggest temptation of green olives that he loves. Can he resist, I wonder? So well done for listening. Slightly longer chapter today. So I want to share with you a tip. So, I need this chapter again. So in this story, I used a special tip, which you might have used in your story writing at school. I'm sure that you've learned. It's called show, not tell. Okay, I love show, not tell. So that is when we show how the character's feeling by writing and describing the actions they do, which indicate how they are feeling, rather than saying how they feel. So an example would be Ernie felt sad. You could say your character felt sad, or you could just say that he hung his shoulders down and his head dropped. Okay, so I did this. You might have picked this up in the story. Okay, I have done a little bit of said how he felt and I've shown how he felt. So you can always do both. Ernie was now in shock. He was rooted to the spot and covered in mud. So when someone is stuck on the spot, so when someone feels a bit shocked, they might be stuck on the spot and not move anywhere because they're just in shock. So you could, if you want to say that your character is feeling shocked, you could say they were frozen to the spot. Also, I have said his tentacles hung so low that they dragged in the sludge. So if someone's happy, so imagine your snail, he's happy, his tentacles are going to stand up in the air. If he's feeling sad, they're going to hang down and droopy, and he's sad, like his shoulders. So you might not be writing about a snail, so you might be writing about a person or a different creature, but think about how they would show, how their body would show if they were feeling sad. But that's not the only emotion that you can express. Okay, you could express happiness. He jumped for joy. Rather than saying he was happy or he was excited, you could say he jumped for joy. So my activity for you today is a good one. Okay, it is a diary entry. So I hope you guys have all had a chance to write a diary entry. I'm sure that you have. Don't forget to add an intro and an ending. And also don't forget to add some awesome exclamatory sentences. So sentences that end with an exclamation mark. So they are usually sentences that express excitement and emotion. So in your diary entry, I want you to add some show not tell. So I want you to write about how Ernie has just discovered that he is a pet and he is trapped and far from his home. And he writes a diary entry about how he is feeling. Okay, so you might say that today I spent the whole day slumped in the corner. Okay, which tells us that he feels miserable. So see if you can get some show not tell in there. So I know that's quite a big challenge for you guys, but I know that you can do it. Please send me your work because I would love to share it in the next session. And don't forget to visit my website, and you can find out more about my books, and you can find out about resources that I've created to help you with your story writing. So have a great day and stay safe, and see you on Thursday. Thanks for watching.